Good morning, ma'am. My name is Amira. My roll number is 21951A04A1. I am pursuing my first year ECE in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Section B. Today, my topic is A Good Listener is Rare to Find. Introduction. Qualities of a good listener. For being a good listener, traits of a good listener. Are you a good listener? Benefits of listening. What a good listener think. The art of listening. Look interested, get interested. Involve yourself by responding. Stay on target. Test your understanding. Evaluate the message. Neutralize your feeling. Qualities of a good listener. They are full present. They react in the moment. They never interrupt. They ask follow up questions. They show that they are listening. They are patient. They listen to learn. They summarize what they heard. They are full present. Being present means that you are engaged in the current moment instead of harboring on the past, whether you are on the speaker or anticipating what they will say next. You are processing information as it's told you. You you avoid all distractions, including your phone and other people. This means you maintain good eye contact to emphasize and demonstrate your focus. They react in the moment, like not listening to respond. Good listeners use their focus in the present to react on the fly, while the planner among us might be made uneasy by this quality. These moment to moment response will be great if they are made with understanding. If you are present, you will be able to focus and react with your gut, not with a critical and often wrong or harsh mind. Your honest response will produce an organic environment where you are more likely to faster, better connection with the speaker. They never interrupt. It's frustrating to speak and constantly get interrupted. You might lose your argument or train of thought or even get your whole point derailed and forgotten. Good listeners understand this worry and simply listen until the speakers finished. If they are confused, they follow up after the speaker has made their point. Often initial confusion will be clarified later. If it's not, good listener aren't afraid to politely ask as long as it's after the speaker finished. They ask follow up questions. An important part of listening is engaging with the speaker. Good listeners encourage what the speaker has to say and make sure they understand what's been communicated. They ask relevant questions or try to get more details. If it's an emotional conversation, they provide support and ask the speaker about their needs. If it's more business related, they may clarify and reiterate the agenda or ask anything they might not be sure about. They show that they are listening, although they might not be speaking much during the conversation. Good listeners show that they engaged by using active body language. They may This may include nodding or leaning in to show agreement or to encourage the speaker to continue on. The best way to show you are listening is to keep eye contact with the speaker. Even if they are looking away, make sure to focus on them instead of letting your eye constantly wander. They are patient. Why they might want to jump in with a response, good listener don't interrupt and wait until the speaker finished with that they have to say. Imagine all that someone has to say fills up an imaginary personal balloon. Listeners don't wait until the speaker pause, but rather until they have emptied their balloon. This means they encourage them to say all that they have to rather than rushing to finish the conversation. They listen to learn. Good listener believe they will learn something new from each conversation. They actively listen to understand new information or ask open end questions to allow the speaker to elaborate. Instead of having similar conversation again and again, they remain interested and invested and try to learn something from everyone. They summarize what they have heard. While they don't need to repeat what they have listened word for word, good listeners respond with a summary that clarifies and processes what the speaker just said. This typically comes closer to the end of the conversation to help highlight important moments or eliminate any outstanding issue. For being a good listener, the 7 steps for being a good listener. Step 1, create a comfortable setting and opportunity to have a conversation. Step 2, talk less, listen more. Step 3, be okay with silence. Step 4, ask good questions. Step 5, be careful when sharing your personal experience. Step 6, do not stress about saying right thing. Step 7, validate them for being vulnerable. Triads of good listener. Note down the points. He or she disagree with the speaker and queries later on. Concentration on what the speaker say. Design with receptive mind. Gives concentration feedback. Questioning and paraphrasing empathy. I have provided some pictures for better understanding. Are you a good listener? A good listener keeps the communication path open. A good communicator and a speaker happens only when it's a good listener. A good listener truly wants to know the speaker. Benefits of listening. Economy of communication. Poor listening leads to pile up huge paperwork that leaves us tangled. Reading and writing. Slower communication elements than speaking and listening. Now, reading and writing requires a number of elements and equipments need to be handy. If good listening exists, then you finish the communication in one message. What a good listener think. The listener think ahead of talker, trying to anticipate what the oral discourse is leading to and what conclusion will be drawn from the words spoken at the moment. The listener weigh the evidence used by the talker to support the points that he makes. Is this evidence valid? The listener asks himself, is it the complete evidence? Periodically, the listener review and mentally summarize the points of the talk complete thus far. If listening is so important, then why it is so rare to find? A number of years ago, I was conducting a seminar for around 80 to 90 people, and in middle of my talk, I decided to ask them a simple question. How many of you can think of someone is in your professional lives, past or present, you who you would characterize has been an excellent listener? I was surprised to see that less than half the room put up their hands. I have repeated this question for every group I have worked with since, and the results are similar. Half the room squinch up their faces and stare at the ceiling as they try to think of someone with excellent listening skills. The other half immediately stick their hands in the air. When I probe a little deeper and ask the people who put their hands in the air if they respected the people they have in mind, if these people were mentors to them or helped their careers along, the answer is always an emphatic yes. So then I asked them how they know the person is listening. The answer tended to be along the lines of they make a eye contact, they give visual or verbal feedback, nodding head, okay, yeah. They ask questions when they don't understand. They are not looking at their phone. They don't interrupt and they are able to offer insight that show they understood what you were saying. Well, that doesn't sound too hard, doesn't it? Don't look at your phone, not make eye contact, and perhaps back to the speaker. what you heard. And if you attend an active listening course, this exactly what they will teach you to do. I have always been somewhat hesitant around teaching listening skills, as it has long been my belief that there is nothing quite so annoying as someone who has recently attended an active listening skill course. They will maintain open body language, nod sympathetically, then lean in while maintaining eye contact and says, "So, if I am hearing you correctly, you feel that you can do everything right and still be a crappy listener." My next question then is, why is listening so hard? What are the barriers to being a good listener? And here's where things get interested. This list includes things like, I am already forming my response in my head while they are talking, I am thinking about something else, I have other stress and time constants, the person is boring, and I don't really care about what they are talking about. Listening is hard, it takes energy. What becomes clear is this response is that the main barrier to listening is myself. Put another way, the voice in my head prevents me from being fully present, which prevents me from truly listening. The key the key to being a good listener is being fully present. As such, there is much overlap between the skill involved in listening and the skills involved in developing executive presence. See my article on executive presence. Speaking and listening are two sides of the same coin. When it comes to being wholly present, so many of my suggestions for being a good listener are similar to those having presence, because they are about managing the voice in our heads. In order to be a good listener, we need to quell that voice while the other person is speaking. At the same time, we need to be able to think in silence in order to process what the person is telling us. Here are a few suggestions that will help. No, keep notes, make eye contacts, pause, ask questions. Keep notes. Many of my clients take copious notes during meeting, calls and conversations. But I have noticed something about note keepers. They rarely check their notes after the fact. The reason that they take notes is that it helps them focus while they listen, and as a result retain more. Although apparently the memory benefit of note taking applies to handwriting notes but not typed, we are hearing and translate it into our own words. Note taking works best if you are able to create separation between listening and writing, as opposed to always writing while someone is speaking. This will allow you to think about what you are writing as opposed to capturing verbatim what the person is saying. Make eye contact. We generally know the eye contact is good thing, particularly while listening, but I am not sure most people fully appreciate why this is the case as it relates to listening. Eye contact is important for two reasons. First, it establishes a genuine connection with the other human being. Second, it quietens the voice in our heads. Both of these are important for listening. There really no faking the connection that is established with real eye contact. Not only will you be more attuned to the nonsense of what the person is communicating, they will also feel more heard. Good listening isn't just about accurately capturing what is being said, it's about making the speaker feel that the full complexity of what they are trying to communicate has been received. Eye contact helps do this. The second piece of eye contact is that it helps shut out the voice in our heads. It is very difficult to have a second parallel soundtrack going in our heads while maintaining eye contact. The voice in our heads is the main barrier to good listening. Often we are just waiting for the other person to finish speaking so that we can speak the thought we have been formulating while they are talking. This is an extremely frustrating pattern of behavior for the speaker. Maintaining eye contact will lessen the likelihood of doing this. Pause. I talk a lot about the importance of pausing while speaking. It is just as important while listening. You may have noticed that the precious 2 points, take notes, and the eye contact, are very hard to do at the same time. Give yourself a moment, jot down your notes is silence, or even to think. Pausing allows us to contemplate in silence, which allow us to more presence both when speaking and when listening. Becoming comfortable with pauses is one of the most important things you can do to improve your presence. Ask questions. There is an art to ask questions. People love being asked questions, but few of us do it well. Ask questions is something I am not naturally skilled at and have had to work very hard at over the years. My instinct is often to listen what someone says and then relay a thought or experience that I had that connects to what they were saying. In my mind, I am trying to create a bridge to what the person is saying by sharing a similar experience of my own, but this can often be interrupted as well. Bringing it back to myself, this is not an uncommon triad. Often, a question will be more effective. It signals that you are interested in them rather than yourself and achieves the same goal as the relayed thought would have. Another reason for not questioning is that people often pretend to understand things they don't. They will nod their heads during a conversation despite not being entirely sure what the other person means. If someone uses a unfamiliarly economy on a call, few people will interject to ask the meaning of the economy or hears screenery. I have observed that occurs with shocking regularity. A leader walks in a team meeting, talks for a while, gives some directives. Everyone at the table nods agreement, and the leader then leaves. As soon as he or she leaves the room, the team members turn to each other and ask, "So, what are we supposed to do?" Why do no one ask questions despite not truly ask understanding? Learn to ask questions, even dumb ones, as they are questions. You may even want to prepare a few questions priorly to conversation or a meeting. When we ask questions, we not only benefit ourselves but often the speaker as well. Conclusion: the things about listening is that above all else, it is a choice. Being a good listener requires being fully present and is the opposite side of the coin as speaking with presence. The difference with speaking, however, is that when speaking you have to be at least somewhat present. You may be tracking ahead in your mind or get lost in your thoughts or give into the inner critical voice, but you at least have to be present enough to form and articulate a coherent stream of words. While listening, it is possible to just check out to pretend to listen but be completely elsewhere. So, as the skills we have discussed, taking notes, make eye contacts, pausing, ask questions, will all help you to be a better listener. But first and foremost, you need to make the choice to be present while others are speaking. You will be a better leader for it. And as I mentioned at the beginning, people will respect you for it. Thank you for giving me such a good opportunity. I am ending my topic here.